What's happening, Bulls? Happy Wednesday. There's a shitload going on in crypto. There was a bigger pullback than expected, that's for sure. Most people got done by it, including me. I had a bit of a losing streak recently on the Bitcoin trading after getting 7 winning trades in a row, turning a $500 account up to a $7,000 US account. Can't be too mad with a lose streak. It happens. Hey, let's have a look at the bubbles. The bubbles are looking pretty good. We see a few things of interest, like Crypto.com. There's going to be another exchange token run soon. That's what happens through the cycles. They end up being very strong because they can pretty much cook the books, if you will, these exchange tokens. A lot of the time they can cook the books. If you were a market maker, would you make your exchange token look how you wanted it to? I'm sure you would. Other notable performances, Hype. Weekly, let's have a look. It's just insane. The strength is nuts. Yeah, that along with Tron. So you got this and this. Look at these two charts. That's a yearly chart. Tron, Hype, fucking hell. Yeah, Sky. It's relatively new. Tau. See, most of them pretty sad looking. A lot of these bull flags going on. Link. Yes, there's quite a big contrast in a lot of these different charts, Maker. You want the strong ones. What you want is you want to buy the strongest coins in a market-wide pullback, because in the market-wide pullback, the strongest coins typically pull back the hardest because they were the most leveraged. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's first start with a video from the one, the only.
We want to make a judgment about what the president's doing, whether or not it's right. We want to have a conscience. We want to make a judgment about what the president's doing, whether or not it's right. When he does something outrageous, we can lament, complain, shrug our shoulders. But the one thing we can't do is sell the stock of NVIDIA because of President Trump's attempt to fire Lisa Cook, a Federal Reserve governor, for what might or might not be mortgage fraud. Yes, I know that sounded flip, but deal with me. On a day where the Dow gained 136 points, the S&P climbed 0.4%, and the Nasdaq advanced 0.44%, all I heard today was people wondering if the market should be rallying when the president's trying to fire a Fed governor, which is supposed to be illegal. The cognoscenti want to say it's wrong. It's wrong for stocks to go higher, too, when the White House is threatening the Fed's independence. And look, I get that. I want an independent Fed, too. Federal Reserve may get it right or wrong, but historically, when your central bank is run directly by a president or a prime minister, you tend to get much higher inflation. That's just an empirical point. It's a given. But I am now going to commit sacrilege in front of you because, let's be honest, until this week, the vast majority of investors had never heard of Lisa Cook. They don't care that she hasn't been charged, not charged, but hasn't been charged with mortgage fraud, supposedly telling banks she had 2 primary residences when you're only allowed to have 1. They don't even care how she votes, which is alas with presidential nemesis Jay Powell, the Fed chief.
Don't miss a second.
Anyway, more or less just saying Trump is at war with the Fed. We had that Jackson Hole meeting recently where that was a bit bearish or dovish, if you will. And Trump hates it. He hates everything about it, and Trump will win, is my opinion on that. So moving over, we had a little look. We can zoom out on these crypto bubbles. We can look at the 100 to 200, see if there's any notable. Another CKB. Look at that. Nervos Network. 22%. Wait until the bull market really kicks off. These are just coins that are bouncing off the bottom. SNX, an old friend from the past. JST, a Tron coin. But looking through the monthly lens, a lot of these coins looking pretty terrible. Let's have a look at the top 100 in the monthly lens. The monthly lens is looking pretty bad. Bonk, shocking. I hate to see it, but there are some outperformers. OKB, the exchange coin in question. Farcoin down 42%. Very bad. We're going to have a look at the Farcoin chart. In fact, let's have a little look at it right now. I'll mix it in. Here's the Farcoin chart. 1 candle equals 12 hours. What you can see here is a massive range, ranging all the way from April, middle of April. So how do you know what a range is? Well, so a range is just typically and individually, simply, sideways price action that you can fit within a rectangle. Okay, so within this range is obviously going to be trends, primary, secondary trends, heaps of trends. But as you know, you zoom out and then the chart looks different. Zoom in, the chart looks different. So if we've got a massive range here, this is range lows. We can grab the G box. You can bring it, click it, drag it, give you the settings. This will most likely land in around about the perfect place where this is the mean of the range. Hang on, here we go, more or less. Alright, so you've got the mean line of the range, you've got good buying, you've got great buying at the range lows, and then you've got extremes on the tops and the bottoms here. Just having a closer look. Range highs, catches, yeah, it looks about good to me. So if you're going to be in the camp of, where is the indicator that I saved? Gigastochastic. If you're going to be in the camp of buying these coins or any coins at a discounted price, you want to be buying it at range lows bare minimum. Range lows bare minimum. Now, there is no strength in this coin whatsoever, so you're catching the falling knife. You're basically standing in front of the train and you want to see something. What you want to see is either a volatility, the momentum turning around, or perhaps a gigabar, blue bar on a higher time frame, which is not what we're getting. We're getting literally the opposite. So what we're getting on these gigabars, these volatility indicators, is there has been a contraction here. There's a head fake. Head fake means it's moving in the opposite direction. So a blue bar means it's the new move, start of a new move. So a new move was about to begin right here. A lot of people would have longed it and they wouldn't have blamed you. Goes up, gets liquidity, fakes people out. Head fakes, okay, loads up all the shorts and then dumps even harder. So this is a move that is currently in progress. Where will it end? Well, good question you ask. Good question you ask. We've got a small knot here. It's pretty fucking ugly chart. This whole Fartcoin chart. So if you grab this previous range, which is now a knot, it's called a knot. So what you get on a trend, you typically at the start of a trend, something like that, you will get sideways price action at one point, and that is called a knot. And the knot usually lands as a liquidity sponge. So if you could expect the price to go down into this knot, then you would most likely be ready for a good buying opportunity. So anything from here to here is good buying, but down here is clearly the best buying if you're interested in something like Fartcoin, which, you know, I'm not going to run and jump in for. Hey, let's have a look at the Bitcoin supply in profit and loss from Benjamin Cowen. So what you see here on the blue line is typically just the Bitcoin price, and the red line is moving in opposite correlation to the supply and profit. So supply and loss, supply and profit. So how much of the Bitcoin supply, or people holding the Bitcoin wallets, are in a loss and in a profit. Majority are in a profit. 90% are in a profit, and this is typically a top signal and has been a top signal, and vice versa. So when majority of the supply naturally is at a loss, then it's going to be a bottom, because most people are in a loss, not many people are in a profit. So it lines up very well with tops and bottoms. It's best for bottom timing realistically, seeing when everyone's in a loss, and as you can see, you can stay in profit for quite a long time. It is the same amount of time as that, but in a long time when it's making all-time highs. So when the price is literally making an all-time high, as you can imagine, everybody is in profit. So 88.95% of all Bitcoin holders right now are in profit. Keep that in mind. If you are buying the top, we can teach you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a hard one, especially if you're trying to do some breakout trading or succumb to your FOMO. Longing a top, usually when you get that urge to long, usually the best longs, they feel very stupid or very bad. They feel like you're doing it at the wrong time, and that's just how it is. Breaking, the foreign holdings of US Treasuries jumped 80 billion in June to a record 9.13 trillion. So what I'm saying is America's back, baby. China's holdings were unchanged. Total purchases in the first half of 2025 reached 500 billion. Foreign appetite for US Treasuries remains strong. So people were leaving, everyone, it was just FUD. Okay, America's back. Have a look at this one. Chris Beninsky. Sol has been consolidating for almost 18 months. I wonder what happens next. Let's flick over to the Solana chart. Where is it? This is a daily chart. One candle is 1 day, and it is in a range. We've been talking about the Solana chart for quite some time. Anything, we've mentioned so often, anything under this 125 area is a absolute steal, and you can see in the past it almost always has been. If we zoom out to the weekly chart, we will see similar to what he was talking about, just Solana up. I mean, this is a spot Bybit chart, so it only goes back to 2022, so potentially not the best. Let's get the Binance one, shall we? Now we're talking. All right, what I want to see is, come on, 1 sec, back to it. That's just easy. Solana, going to it. Weekly chart. There it is. I want to see the volatility. Low and expanding. Low and expanding. Let's zoom out a little bit more. 2 weeks. Let's have a look at the monthly chart. Yeah, I mean, fuck. Is that a Head and Shoulders or what? It's a bit dicey, to be fair, but the volatility is low, and it is preparing for a big move on nearly all time frames. So Solana's going to do something. I'm looking for the blue bars, signifying a large move about to begun, but I believe it's already begun. Until this comes back down below this reset line at 15%, this Solana move is still moving, and this is where we entered our long as well. 158, we got that entry in 158 on our Solana long, and then I added a bit to it, so I think the average entry is now 166. So we're still quite heavily in profit on that 30x Solana trade. So that's a fair few G's. So far, so good. As long as Solana keeps chugging on right here. Just need Solana to keep chugging on, and I believe it will. You know what happens with trends? They grind and then they finish with a parabolic increase. It happens with most trends, nearly all trends. You're looking at this and then bang. This and then bang. This and then bang. Once this changes its pitch, hits around at least 240, that's all TPing. That's all just straight TP. Moving on, get through this relatively quick if we can. What else we got here? Oh yeah, I did this at the cafe this morning actually.
Attention Starbucks, I'd like to give one person the opportunity to buy me a coffee. In exchange, I'll sit down with you for 5 minutes to discuss my world-class crypto trading strategies.
Is that McLovin?
Garcia, politics
We got some
aside,
info.
I mean, listen, Cook might stay. We don't know.
Hey, look, you might not be interested in finance, you might not be interested in the current politics in the United States, but it does all matter, and you can understand the sentiment, the whole sentiment for where the markets are, because at the end of the day, crypto is just an extension of the tech arm. And when you see an American stock market that's been doing nothing but going up, more or less for 140 days straight on the S&P 500, you start to wonder, hang on, why the fuck is crypto pulling back? Maybe it's because it's more risky, or maybe it just needs a deleveraging event, which is what we just recently saw. And, it's still a relatively thin order booked asset, where the rumors are that somebody did just fat finger sold billions and billions, $60 billion, $40 billion worth of Bitcoin in one market order. So just, can you blame them?
She might voluntarily resign, and then Trump gets replaced, or a court will uphold that this is valid and she gets replaced. If she does indeed leave the board in some form, and a dove comes in, does it change the way we should look at the Fed or interest rates?
Well, I think that we should be looking at this either way, because I think regardless of what happens, clearly Trump is putting a lot of pressure here. Powell is going to be out next year. Likely somebody's going to put in who is somebody of his choosing, who is going to be ideally lowering interest rates as he wants. And I think that's something the markets are trying to figure out. This is why you see the yield curve steepening, because it's widely expected the rates are going to start to come down here in the short term. And longer term, though, this is actually likely going to put more pressure on inflation. That's like the irony of all of this. That's why the longer end of the curve has been rising, because this could actually stimulate the economy and create additional inflation in the long run. So even though he's putting all this pressure, it doesn't mean inflation is done. And actually longer term could potentially be an issue. So I think that's something to watch out for.
That gap between the 2-year yield and the yield on the 30-year, Dan, the widest in multiple years.
Well, you know what's interesting about this, and again, this could just end up being, a sideshow. It could end up just being a ridiculous situation. I mean, the president was found liable in a civil case in New York State for doing what? Inflating the value of his property to get a mortgage and insurance. I mean, so what are we doing here? We're spending a lot of time talking about this. Why doesn't any of these reporters ask that question? You know what I mean? It's just kind of funny to me. We're just letting this go by, and there's no due process, and we haven't been shown anything.
There's been no charge. There's an allegation.
Okay, but he's going on.
But there's not even a charge. If there's a charge,
he's charging it. He's the president.
Well, he's saying it, but he's not charging it. There's no legal charge. I think that's the
It's a clown
line.
show, okay? And again, I mean, we're spending a lot of time talking about this.
Does the move in the bond market change anything for Dan Nathan with regards to
because it hasn't moved. I think what Courtney said is perfect. I mean, if it stokes inflation, you're going to see long yields go higher, and that's what's kind of happening. It's happening all over the world, too. So there's this focus right now that inflation is not under control, that every government on the planet has massive debt piles. They want to see, yields go down because they're sick of servicing this debt. We have $1 trillion in debt to service, and there's a push and a pull, right? We get the yields lower, we spend less on our debt service, but it is stimulative, and then you have this situation where who knows what could happen.
Well, what I would add there.
Let me just stop him right there and just say, no truer words have been spoken. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? Yeah, so don't pretend that you do. This is a Bitcoin chart. One candle equals 12 hours. I love this chart. Bitcoin, 12-hour chart. Move to the daily, not as good. Move back to the 12-hour. Home sweet home. Let's move to the 4-hour. I want to show you something. This is, again, a range. Okay, so 70% of all price action works in ranges if you zoom out far enough. When a range breaks, goes up to the next range. Let me draw. Yep, started at this range, right? And then the range expanded with the volatility, naturally. Range expands, comes down, and creates the range as volatility increases. On the way up from range to range, there is this. This is, again, what's called a knot. The reason why I'm obsessed with these knots is because they are liquidity areas. They are the biggest liquidity areas. So from the knot, especially down to the breakout point, so where the end of the range started finishing, like for example the last lows before the range finished. Just see you with one of these here, curve, where is it? Yep. This. So price looks for liquidity. It finds it in the knot nearly always. If that doesn't satisfy, or if there is a hell of a lot of leverage that needs to be unwound, then it'll break through the knot. So the knot needs to be tested, and many times it'll hold. So it held, but once you try and untie the knot 2 times in a row very fast, a lot of the time it will break. So see, there was a large time gap between this attempt at breaking the knot. Let me just change the color of the knot so you can see the knot. Let's just change it to blue. You can see this knot here, okay, liquidity zone, whatever you want to call it, bang, doesn't untie it, bang, doesn't untie it. A lot of time between there, so the knot could get all crusty and tight again, but not much time between that, okay? So this is the price untightening the knot and breaking down through it, getting all the real creamy goodness, liquidity that it needs, and then breaking back up. A lot of the time these knots hold. It has here, it has here. In this case, it is broken. So where the Bitcoin price action is right now, it can do anything. It can easily move back down into this range now. So this is pretty much, it's crisis. This is crisis areas. The knot's been broken. It tapped into the top of this previous range, soaked up some liquidity, and it's back now. It will be, if it's going to put in a bottom here, I mean, it's just going to be pretty high, in my opinion, quite a tight high bottom, and this will be it. But if this doesn't hold, I know there's a lot of ifs and buts. Hey, this is trading, but what's happened right here is not a common occurrence. This is quite a large breakdown of price, and this is the critical liquidity area here. Most of the time when these knots do break, they come back down into this previous range, and they come back and they use that as resistance. So right now, it going back into the knot, which is quite rare, is telling me that this is an unusual event. So unusual price action event, and that this for example, there was just too much long leverage in there, and to get the result that it needed to go. Oh, for fuck, the audio, my bad. Yeah, well, I'm talking now. If you're skipping, if you are a bull, long soon. That's what I'm saying. Long soon. Not financial advice. Ethereum looks a lot stronger. Look at this. Butts. Wow. Wow. Insanity. Channels. Look at this channel. You know what happens with these trends? Majority of the time they finish like this. Keep that in mind. Sui looks pass. No, this is a bull flag, so it's going to have a go. But this is a hell ugly chart. Not the worst time to long these coins, you know. It's longing now is better than 90% of all price action for the last 2 months or month. XRP, same sort of deal. Yeah, I mean that's a descending triangle, so you know, in all fairness, it's actually a bearish pattern. It's expected to do that, but let's hope. Let's hope not. Pengu, same shit. So a lot of these coins are just looking the same. BTC dominance trending down. Good for altcoins. Okay, good for altcoins. It means alt season is at the brink of returning. Gold, look, trending up. Ascending triangle. An ascending triangle. Look at this. Ascending triangle. Bullish. Typically speaking, I'm seeing this as a range. This is what I've been saying for a long time. This gold is ranging. I'm expecting the range to continue until, well, I was saying until September, October. So it's getting close to it anyways. Gold is ridiculously giga bullish. Look here. This CryptoRank.io is fantastic because of this. Look, you can sort all these coins out with filters. So market caps from, say, 500. And we can look at all the different sections of time and see how good they've been in these areas. You want coins that are going to be outperforming on multiple time frames. It's just an easy way to filter through. So Aero, not so good in Q1. Pengu minus 83% in 1 quarter. Q1 price changes. Changes in 6 months, changes in 3 months. Keep an eye on these. Changes in 3 months, up 150, up 271. So it's really a good way to just zoom in and sort out a lot of coins looking for the strength. So Saros, I wouldn't even thought of looking at Saros. Overall, strong performer. Change, 6 months, 2,000. Let's have a quick look at it. Let's have a look at the chart. Saros on Solana, daily chart. Wow. I wonder what this is traded on. Markets, rank 91. Bybit. Fucking A. Quick look. Saros. Perps, Saros on Perps. Daily chart. Whoa. Fucking every single long in existence got wiped out on that. Get fucked. Well, if you want something to long, you just know that you'll be the only one in the trade, so maybe I'll chuck one of those on with you. How about that? Talk soon. Thanks for listening. Ta-ta. See you tomorrow.